Hello, Frugal Force, once again, Captain Frugal reporting for duty, and today I'm going to review Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, number 4. Now, the reason I'm doing this, I wasn't intending to do this because it's already been reviewed by a couple other people on YouTube, but I felt that I should because I did the last flashback from the stash, and I compared it only to Dan Slott's current version of Spider-Man, so I thought it'd only be fair to talk about this issue then so I can compare Chip Zdarsky's version of Spider-Man as well to the past. So diving in, let's get to it. This issue was written by Chip Zdarsky and the artwork was by Kubert. Now normally I have to say I'm a big fan of Kubert's work, so I'm hoping, greatly for this issue to be drawn good. So as I dig in, right off the bat, we start with an introductory page to understand what's going on, but that's part of the problem right from the start. The way this is written, I understand it introduces people to the story a little bit, but it's written so goofy and so poorly. How would this make you want to start reading this book is beyond me. It makes me wonder right away, what are they going for? I mean, what is the target audience with this? Is it really young digital hipsters or something? That's the only thing I can possibly think of. It's trying too hard to be hip and cool, and it comes off as silly, just ridiculous. Alright, so right on the first page you can see the Kubert art, which, as I said, I think is pretty good art. But even by his standards, as I go through this issue, it seems like he just doesn't care as much. And this issue starts right off from the last one when, yes, Peter Parker decides he's going to go after the Kingpin about a cell phone scam kind of deal because of encrypted cell phones. Yes, because now Peter Parker runs after a potential criminal with absolutely no solid proof of anything wrong anymore at all. Bravo of already making Peter Parker even more ignorant than what we've seen him in the past, because for some reason Marvel no longer likes a smart Peter Parker. And right once again on the very first page we have absolutely horrendous hipster crap dialogue. Whoa, Tinker, an exosuit, you got jacked, now you're like, I mean, come on. This is not how Peter Parker talks. He did not drop 100 IQ points between issues. Oh dear, this only continues on this route. Now this next point, I want to make a very strong point about this. As the fight ensues, we continue seeing, just like we did in the Dan Slott books of Amazing Spider-Man, Peter Parker pretty much getting beat down, becoming a chump, while the guest characters look like they are awesome and doing the heavy lifting. Bravo, once again, reducing Peter Parker and his strength and his ability to fight, making him a buffoon in his own book. Next, I want to point out a particular piece of dialogue here, because remember, as I said, Peter Parker and Human Torch rushed in this with, well, really technically any kind of proof. Wilson Fisk says, I believe that's the cue for you to leave after some damage and things has happened. And where shall I send the bill for damages? And Human Torch is like, I think you've probably got money to burn. And if I see you again, and he goes, prove it. But here's the point. Really? Are Human Torch and Peter Parker Spider-Man the heroes here? I mean, really? What did they have for cause to really do this? If anything, they might actually be the villains in this situation. Meanwhile, in a fight, a car ends up flying through the air and Peter Parker, Spider-Man, catches it with his webbing. So, I want to point out this fight has not been going very long, and anybody that knows Spider-Man knows he's a tenacious guy, lots of energy and things. This fight has not been going long at all, and yet we have this. Spider-Man, aren't you alright? My arms have a real Mr. Fantastic vibe going on, right? Yeah. Torch, Tinkerer went, hold on. Now wait a minute here. He's already got, he's held cars up and things before. He hasn't been fighting long. There's no way this should be having that big of an adverse effect on him. Once again, showing that they pretty much depowered and deballed Peter Parker Spider-Man. He's no longer near as smart, and they're constantly showing that he just doesn't have the strength, tenacity, the gall anymore that he used to have. Now, I know I've been picking on this issue a lot, so I will give credit when credit's due. After that whole spiel with the car, Peter Parker gets back into it and decides he's going to break this machine, and I will say I think I really like this panel of art here. This is a really cool panel of Peter crunching that thing, breaking it down, so I'm going to give it credit for that bit there. But so far the story's not been good. Peter Parker's been diminished, but I'll give him this. Okay, this is a good step in the art. I'm going to give him this one panel. After that, the book transitions from this fight scene to J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie. And I'm going to give good old Zdarsky a little bit of credit. He must have stopped snorting the cocaine. And before you pick on me too much, look at his picture on his Twitter and things. So therefore, he did it to himself. All right, so he must have got off the cocaine long enough to write these characters in character. I'm going to give Zdarsky some credit here. I believe he did a pretty good job writing J. Jonah Jameson with his obsession over Peter Parker and Robbie and his level-headedness, you know, talking to him. Because J. Jonah Jameson, of course, wants to exploit this to Spider-Man's a terrible guy and all that. And Robbie is keeping them toned down. But before I give them too much credit, because after reading this, I was like, hey, okay, that was nice. Of course, Chip Zdarsky must have had to take another big whiff of that cocaine, because what comes next? Now, as I said, I wanted to give him a lot of credit for writing J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie in a sensible way that, you know, it actually fits his character, because he's completely bobbling Peter Parker Spider-Man. Absolutely. But here came this. Jonah, when you were in charge here, I sometimes didn't agree with your editorials, but I ran them. Not because you were the publisher, but because they were solid arguments, well presented. There was thought behind your words. You know, so Robbie's starting out, you know, like Robbie, very sincere, very right to the point, and honest and well-grounded. But you just spent the last year as an on-air personality for a TV network that was 100% agenda-driven, wider and more insidious than your unhealthy Spider-Man agenda. Now, just for a pause there, J. Jonah Jameson was on a television network that they used as a slap to Fox News or any conservative, but Fox News was the main target there. And so this is just, once again, one of those political agenda stabs that didn't need to really be in the book. That's why I had the agenda-driven, you know, come on, can't you just leave it out just a little bit? So with that said, he pretty much turns him down and says, you know, maybe after you cool off for a while, you can come back and we can give this a shot. But once again, as I said, this is just one of those things that you can't get away from a Marvel book. You know, if this was the only Marvel book that I picked up in a week that had a little political pop shot, I would be okay with it. I was like, okay, you dick move. You threw one in there. But it's like every single Marvel issue nowadays. You know, come on, knock it off. And after the fight, we're treated to another version yet of Peter Parker, the new and improved digital hipster Peter Parker. I mean, have we ever really seen Peter Parker like this? And look at the cringy dialogue. That's just not Peter Parker. I mean, you just have to love it. But it would be nice to win some, oh man. But here's the bigger kick that gets me. What? Now we really need to come up with a plan. This is Peter Parker. He's supposed to be smart. He's supposed to think things through. When does Peter Parker have to rely on everybody else in his book to make a plan? This is just ridiculous. Peter Parker is being treated like a secondary moron character in his own book. From there, we transition to his new feminine interest. This female that he met, saving her, and she got his number. And he decides, you know, they decide they're going to go to this comedy club. But here is where I'm going to give good old Douglas Ernst mad props, because he predicted this long before it happened, and he was right on point. The spectacular, out-of-character Peter Parker Spider-Man reveals that he just has to do stand-up. It's something he's always wanted to do. He wasn't even pressured into doing it. It's something he just wanted to do. And I ask you, when has it ever been shown in any Spider-Man comic in all of his history that he wanted to do stand-up? Really? Just because he happens to meet someone in stand-up. And of course, since this is Spider-Man and he can never outdo or be the best thing in his book anymore, he has to absolutely flop and make a fool of himself and have people yell, "Boo! I hate you," because yes, Marvel must hate you because they've let Chip Zdarsky and Dan Slott write you. What were they thinking? I mean, really, what have they been doing the last decade with you, poor Peter Parker? They must absolutely hate your guts. They must have some death wish for Peter Parker. They cannot possibly like this character to write him like this. This is just garbage. Whew, I think I got a little heated there. Well, anyway, once that whole fiasco's over with, Peter Parker, they go back out on the track, and he's with the lady that's hiding away right now. And she's wearing this costume, but of course, even though she's hiding away, she can't wear a mask, because, that would only make it harder to identify her. What were they thinking? I know I'm being harsh on this book, just for the record. I am. I know that. But maybe it's because I'm sick of Peter Parker not being written in character. And I know some people are probably going to be all mean in the message comments. Where well, that's what Peter Parker is. You just don't understand. No. Go back to my previous video. Look at Amazing Spider-Man, issue 33. Start doing your homework. This is not Peter Parker. This is a shabby misinterpretation of Peter Parker. It's been going on for a very long time. Alright, so now I'm going to skip to the last page, because if you notice, I'm not going over every single panel, because I don't want to give everything away, but I'm just giving you my gist overall with bits and pieces of the book, especially the parts I thought were flaws. So one, I will say the artwork is okay. It's far from Kuber's best. If you actually go back and look at some of the panels, like the faraway shots, you didn't even have faces inside. It was just blank space. It really just wasn't up that good. I tend to wonder if Kuber himself said, I'm going to phone this in. This crap is bad. I'm just going to get my paycheck and get out. Well, anyway, the last page here says, next issue, the Vulture blows up Spider-Man. And at this point, I am all for it. Absolutely. You might as well blow him up, get rid of him, anything to keep Peter Parker out of the hands of Marvel's current writing staff. Because clearly, they do not care about their flagship character. They must hate their flagship character. He's an idiot in his own book. He can't make decisions. He's not nearly as strong. His supporting cast always seems to be more cool in the battle scenes. They're more intelligent when it comes to making decisions. Peter Parker is a sub-character in his own book, carried by everyone else around him. The only good things really in this book was how J. Jonah Jameson and Robbie Robinson were written. Those are about the only things on point. Everything else was subpar at best. So overall, the absolute best score I could honestly give this book is a D-. The art being decent is the only thing that kept me from shooting or blowing up this book in this video. Whew. See how you know how I felt about that. And just to be so you are clear, if you don't understand, I know I can get some mean comments probably over this review. You do what I did. Read issue 33 and then come back and read this right afterwards. You go from what Spider-Man could be and should be to how Spider-Man should never be written. That's why. If I read a ton of crap-tastic books like the last decade of ASM, this probably wouldn't have seen as egregious. It would have been bad, but it still wouldn't have been as terrible. So it got a D- because of somewhat pretty good art and the little bit of characterization. It didn't quite offend me enough to quite get there for an explosion. All right. So if you did enjoy this video and went through my long rant, I appreciate it. Please be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit that notifications bell, because otherwise YouTube doesn't tend to support me very much. Also, if you want to help me even more, because I don't run ads and things, because I don't want to help YouTube in that way, you can go to my VidMe channel and you can subscribe for as little as $1 a month, or even give me just a one-time tip. And if you want to follow more and keep track and make sure you don't miss anything, you can always follow me at thehenchmanslounge.com. So until next time, until hopefully Marvel one of these days will get Peter Parker right, keep it frugal.